So as you know, Quebecers have not been spared by the higher cost of living we are facing. So today we are taking action. 3 different measures are being put in place. First, we are going for a removal of the sales tax on certain everyday food and hygiene products. Also, we are activating a rapid and automatic payment for up to $200 for eligible households. And also, we are offering a $50 reduction in the vehicle registration fees. If you sum up all these measures for a family of 2 adults and 2 children, it could represent a total of $350 reduction. So this is helpful for Quebecers to help them face the higher cost of living.
Quebec Premier Christine Fréchette earlier today. So how much will that cost taxpayers? David Heurtel is here. He is in for Jim Meny and, of course, former Liberal cabinet minister, now political analyst. Listen, I hate to say it this way, David, and maybe you disagree, but here we go again. Let's send out checks because that seems to work.
Well, it's not sending out checks. I understand where you're coming from, Aaron, but on this one, this is directly putting money in the pockets of Quebecers. I mean, this is not different than what Mark Carney did a few weeks ago.
Well, David, hold on a second. I want to make sure.
Tax on gasoline.
David, I want to make sure I have this right. Is one of the parts, the 3 issues she announced just now, is sending checks out for $200 to low-income earners, right?
It's a tax credit. What I got is it's a tax credit.
Okay.
It's not sending out checks.
Going to check. All right.
I didn't understand it was because there's a solidarity tax credit, and from what I understand, it is going to be up to $200 depending on your income level.
Fair enough. Regardless, this is also going to bring up the point. I didn't want to cut you off there, but we know Eric Girard, the finance minister, through a leaked conversation or email. Hey, I gave you $250 million when I handed down the last budget to spend. You're way over that. You got to, pay attention and keep it in check.
Yeah. Okay. A few things on that, Aaron. First of all, Eric Girard is not the premier of Quebec. He is the finance minister. The boss is the premier of Quebec. He does not get to determine where the money goes. The final arbiter of who spends what where in the Quebec government is the Premier of Quebec. 2, the leaked email from Éric Girard dates back to early May. It is not a recent email. The reason why that's important, I think it's dated May 2nd. The reason why this is important is that when he did his budget back in March, he did say that he thought that the uncertainty with Iran and everything that was going on over there and the inflation that's caused by the hike in gasoline prices, he budgeted 4 to 6 weeks. We're beyond that. And so the reason why this is important is that because of the higher inflation and the higher gas prices, that means the Quebec government has made more money with the provincial sales tax. And so that's why Éric Girard had to say over the weekend during the General Council meeting with Premier Fréchette, that we had the leeway. We had more leeway now to spend a bit more money. And we're talking about a total of $300 million. It's not like we're doing $20 billion here.
Okay.
It's about $300 million. It's a lot of money. But the actual deficit for Quebec today is projecting a bit lower than it was projected during the budget when the budget was tabled in March. So we're in deficit mode. We're at around $8.6 billion. It's not a great place to be. But if you're talking about Quebecers not being able to make ends meet, struggling, which is true, which is the number one issue for Quebecers. It's around 70%. Affordability is the number one issue. She is the only person not only talking about it, but because she's premier, she's actually trying to do something about it. She's been doing a few measures. Remember Friday you were talking to me about, she seems to be having a real strategy, with the Gilles Villeneuve historic person nomenclature, designation. But ever since she became premier, there have been announcements, the welcome tax credit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just saying, she's the only one of the 5 leaders that are actually talking directly to the top issues that Quebecers are say it's their
Right.
priorities, and she's actually doing something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at this as, and I'm not saying this is bad. Obviously, when you tell people they're going to pay less for anything, that's something people are not going to be angry with, right? No one's going to say, well,
Right.
this is going to add to the deficit, and we should. I get that. But it seems to me like the strategy here is throw as much against the wall and hope some of it sticks, and that's what's been going on.
Well, yes, okay, fair enough. But you know what? It's starting to stick at the wall.
Yeah.
Look at the polling.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this is actually what she's been doing so far. The polling, we have 3 polls now that are showing that it's starting to work. And that I think, it's the same thing. It's a page out of the Mark Carney playbook. Remember when he became leader and prime minister leading up to the federal campaign, the Liberals started doing away with unpopular measures. They did away with some measures regarding immigration. They did away with, oh my goodness, I have it in French, sorry. But they did away with a very unpopular tax, the capital gains. There it is. They
Right.
did away with the capital gains tax. And they did away with other very unpopular, the carbon tax. They got away. They dealt away with that as well.
Okay.
All a bunch of irritants during the Trudeau era. And what she's doing in her way is dealing with issues and irritants that Quebecers are going through right now. So I think it's starting to work. And the most important thing also, Aaron, to me, is that the 4 other leaders aren't talking about these issues at all. Can you point to something really concrete from Charles Milliard on affordability? I don't have it.
Yeah.
And I follow this every day.
No, I get
Seriously.
it. But at the same time, they're not premier. What kind of announcements
But
are they going to be
you
making?
propose.
So-
You're proposing.
Yeah.
What would you do? Where is Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon on affordability? Where is Éric Duhem on affordability? Seriously, I'm talking
No, I
about
get it.
major
I get it.
policy
Yeah.
initiatives. I get that. I understand what you're saying. There's only one premier, but François Legault wasn't doing anything on affordability. Nothing. She's actually doing something with the power she does have. Doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, but she's trying something, and that's what helped Carney. A lot of people are asking right now, well, it's still, the CAQ. It's still François Legault's basic government. Why are people looking at Christine Fréchette? Well, it was the same thing. It was the Trudeau government, basically.
Yeah.
Why did people shift with Carney? Because Carney started talking about issues that were concerning Canadians. And I think that's what's happening right now. I'm not saying the game is won, but I'm just saying this, compared to the other leaders, she's talking directly to Quebecers about what worries them the most.
No, you're making
Some people are listening.
That's a very fair and accurate point. I wonder, too, just based on that, if the next polling we see shows are going even higher.
We'll see about that, but the thing is that right now it kind of forces, the PQ over the weekend in the French media, there was a lot of reports about, the fact that there are fractures within the sovereignist movement. A lot of people in the sovereignist movement, a lot of organizations are debating on the fact that the PQ is not open to new Quebecers, is not open to immigration, is closed off, and that's hurting the movement.
Yeah.
There's former senior cabinet ministers from previous PQ governments, Louise Baudouin, Louise Arnott, have come out publicly criticizing the fact that, the PQ has gone, further to the right on issues like immigration and openness to new Quebecers. And the fact is that the PQ is stuck with that and is not talking about real issues. Charles Milliard, for some reason I completely can't understand, is not really there on affordability, on housing, on healthcare. So there could really be an opening there when people are going to want to vote strategically and say, okay, I want to make sure the PQ doesn't come in. Because, again, in Quebec, during the federal election, Aaron, a lot of sovereignists decided to vote Liberal and a lot of former NDP voters voted Liberal because they wanted to make sure Pierre Poilievre wouldn't form a government. That's the same thing that's going to go on here. Who can stop Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon? And right now, today, the person with the most momentum on that question, if that's the ballot question, right now, the momentum, and I'm saying just today, the momentum seems to be building behind Kristen Fréchette.
Agreed. Listen, I want to get to this Alberta issue. It was the basis of my question earlier in the show today. First of all, I know how much of the interview you caught with Vashi Capellos. Danielle Smith says, look, I'm doing this because, you know what, it democratizes the Albertan population because 300,000 said they want to separate, 400,000 said they don't, so I'm going to give them a chance to really let me know what they think. Yet at the same time, David, she says, I will support the stay in Canada side anyway. So what do we make of this?
Well, what we make of this is that is a facetious argument in so many different ways. If it really was about democracy, you know what? She would have put a resolution before the Legislative Assembly in Alberta. You know, every time we had a referendum in Quebec, it went before the National Assembly before it went to the people. Mm-hmm. And the resolution was passed because there was a majority government of the PQ at the time, both times. And then it went to the why not submit it to the Legislative Assembly? It would probably be voted down. And then the elected representatives of the people of Alberta would have had their say. So the democracy argument is a problem. Mike Lecouteur explained to you as well, very well, you know, that the 400,000 people that signed a pro-Canada petition wasn't about, for them, it wasn't about encouraging a referendum question. It was about saying, we love Canada. Right. We want Alberta to stay in Canada. So this is about also mollifying her own caucus. This is about her. This is about her power, because part of her caucus wants this referendum question to go to the people, and she has to she's trying to survive as well politically, and so I think there's a lot of that as well going on. But to say this is the democratic way to proceed when 300,000 people sign a petition, I mean. That's not accurate at all, and it's a facetious argument.
So I'd like you to tell me what a terrible idea. My question then is, David, which is, hey, listen, we have a party now leading in the polls in Quebec who, if an election was held tomorrow, would win, form a government, and we know that their mandate suggests, you know, point one, we have a vote on a separation, on a referendum for sovereignty. And I thought, well, hey, why don't we follow the Alberta model instead of actually posing the question, which has always been in both previous times so confusing, and simply say, hey, do you want to have a referendum on a possible sovereignty vote, yes or no? And if the answer is no, we just blow it off.
Well, but then I don't dislike your question at all. But because if the PQ would win the election and form a government, they would put this before the elected officials of the National Assembly. That's the thing. For me, the only step that's missing is that, okay, does a majority of the elected representatives of the province agree with the fact we should go to the people on, do you want a referendum on a question? But the problem is when you ask that, you know, the 1980 question was about that as well. It was the 1995 question was about that as well. It was a referendum on, do you want in some form to give the permission to the Quebec government to start negotiation? Well, the fact is that both times Quebecers said no. And so all I'm saying is that this just prolongs the uncertainty, prolongs the fact that we still, you know, prolongs the debate, I think, in not a very productive way.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to ask it anyway because I got some really interesting takes, so that's fine.
I'm sure you will.
I will ask one other question, David. If the PQ were to form a majority, right?
Yeah.
The hell with the opposition, then they would just go ahead and do it anyway. They could anyway.
Pass
right?
it in the National Assembly. My point is that they would pass it. The difference here is that I've yet to see a resolution by the Alberta
I understand.
Legislative Assembly. The fact is that the seat of democracy in a province is the Legislative Assembly. It is not the Premier of Quebec, of Alberta deciding unilaterally to send somebody's petition on separation directly to the voters.
Understood.
That's the only nuance that I have.
David Heurtel. David, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
There
you go, 421, traffic a little late. Let's get you caught up. Now the sun's starting to come out on this Monday afternoon. How's it looking out there, Lauren Glazer?
An iHeartRadio experience. Jelly Roll. Live in Quebec City at Festival d'été de Québec. Presented by Bell in collaboration with Coors Light. You ain't nothing but a lie. You could win VIP tickets for two for July 19th with flights, hotel, and $1,000 cash.
I'm wide awake and I'm dreaming.
Download iHeartRadio. Listen to CJAD 800 for 10 minutes and enter to win. Jelly Roll at FEQ. Every day you listen is another chance to win.